Welcome to All Things Savannah. I'm Frank Morrow, along with Danielle Oak.
Hello everyone. We have a special guest today, Dayna Lee from the Savannah Wine Institute. We've been trying to get Dayna Lee in many times, and Dayna's been trying to get in here many times, so we finally got it all together. And we've got a great show today. As you can see, we have wine in front of us.
Sure do.
So we'll be doing some tasting at some point in time. But just so you know, the Savannah Wine Institute offers interactive wine classes and events, a boutique of curated wines and wine accessories, wine service workshops, and certification courses for connoisseurs and those entering or currently in the hospitality industry. Does that just about cover it, would you say?
Podcast is over.
We have summarized your whole life.
It's all right there.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get a little deeper.
Of course.
We're going to get a little deeper.
So, why wine? I think that's kind of a natural question. There are a lot of things you have done. We've looked at your background, and Danielle has mentioned it, but why did you settle on that?
Well, I had been in international education for years and years and years, and figured I didn't want to retire doing that. So I had to take like a survey of what I like to do and where I like to do it, and it was food and wine, and I didn't want to go to culinary school.
Okay.
That's a good way to think about it.
I kind of took like a year to figure out how I fit into the wine world. I interviewed somms, I interviewed people who worked for wine brands, just trying to figure out where I sat, and then I eventually came on to wine education because it makes the most sense. It works with my background and what I'm comfortable doing and what I love to do, so it's a perfect combination.
Any background that led you there as far as beyond just the interest, the general interest?
When I worked at a boutique English language school for professionals, I hosted a Thursday wine night for the executives, so people from Japan would come over, or Colombia, their employers would send them to the US to study English. So it was part of the cultural experience of being in the US and just talking and getting them to explain who they are and where they're from and practice their English. And that kind of became a thing that I did for all my friends. So I would host wine tastings and curate wine lists for parties, have my own parties. And then once I started studying wine, I worked for wine.com, liquor.com. I had a residency at a couple of hotels and restaurants in Queens where I did food and wine nights. So
that sounds great.
Those were fun, and just taking people on tours. Basically, if there's a wine fest or something in New York, I would have a group and I would take them around and we would taste together. So all those different things kind of led me into, okay, now I want to do this in a more formal way.
So speaking of formal way, where did you do your wine training, or how about?
How? So I did my wine training in New York and in Chicago through the Wine and Spirit Education Trust. So this is a trust out of the UK, and they have different locations in all over the world, basically. And I'm actually a provider here in Savannah now. So I got certified. My institution is certified, so people can take the level 1 and the level 2 certification. I'm in level 3
later then.
Yes.
Okay, great. That's great to hear.
And it's harder than one would think, but it's very rewarding. And
right.
You learn so much. There's chemistry, there's history, there's horticulture. There's so many different things that you learn about wine, and you find what you're interested in wine education. That's what I really love about it.
How long did that take for you to do the first 2?
I started maybe February 2017, 16 maybe, and I finished, that was level 1, and then I did level 2 until maybe the following year. I also have a certification in sherry, so there's that.
It's an added
and
bonus.
I'm in the middle of studying to be a Spanish wine scholar.
Really?
But I'm not really doing that well.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's a learning curve to everything.
I'm the worst student in the world. I'm a great teacher. I'm a terrible student. I've already missed one of our live classes.
Oh, gosh.
I'm missing one right now. Don't
True
tell
confessions
anybody.
right here.
Oh, dear.
But they tape them, so I can
okay.
watch it afterwards. So yeah. And I'll be doing that through the end of the year and taking the exam probably around February, March.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So
yeah.
So in starting a business, as we all know, you have to sort of test your market. You have to check out who are you looking to serve. Did you start out with an idea of who you thought your target clients were going to be?
I didn't until I hired someone to do a business plan. And then she kind of held me to task, and I had to do all of this personal research to explain to her what needs to go into the business plan, which was very helpful. But I did some research with like the Census Bureau and like the Small Business Association to see like how many tourists Savannah gets, who lives here, income,
So you
interest,
crunched
what
the
they
numbers,
do. So you crunch
basically,
the
right?
numbers, and then you kind of have to figure out what you want to focus on. So am I focusing on the tourism? Am I focusing on the people who are here? I'm doing a little bit of both because I want like repeat customers to come in and take multiple classes. And unless someone's coming every week from wherever they're from, that's not going to happen with tourists, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah. So you want returning.
So this is a very big career change for you.
Yes.
In terms of the actual meat and bones of it, but also a huge location change from New York to Savannah. I mean, you could hardly be more opposite as far as cities are concerned. How has that been for you?
It's a learning curve. So I'm familiar with Savannah because my dad's side is from here. So like my mom's side is New York, my dad's side is Savannah. So like it's kind of like my household. Like my dad was very Savannah in a lot of ways. He made his own wine. We had grapes in the backyard.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
muscadine wine.
I love it.
And then my mom is very New York, and that's where I get a lot of my personality from. But I've been visiting, you know, my whole entire life, and especially as an adult when I realized you could drink on the street.
Yeah.
It's like New Orleans or Savannah.
That's right. So here in Savannah, we have an open container is it law or?
Yeah, it's an ordinance.
Ordinance.
It's an allowance that you can walk around with a drink in
Yeah.
certain districts of town.
Yes.
Yes. So I was very happy to see that. Because you don't know that part when you're like a kid, right? But I was out to dinner with my family, and I ordered a drink. Everybody was ready to go. And I don't eat dessert, really, so my dessert is a cocktail
Sure.
or a glass of wine. So I ordered, and then my family's ready to go, so I'm like, ugh, you know, do I chug it in front of my aunt?
Decisions.
And then the waitress comes over and she puts it in a cup, and I'm like, well, that's rude. Where's she taking that? And then she gave it to me, and I was like, excuse me? She's like, oh, just take it with you. And I'm like, oh.
The light bulb.
And then the light bulb went
Uh-huh.
on. I'm like, I want to move here.
Yes.
I don't know if that's part of the Chamber of Commerce
I
mantra,
think it should be. I think it should be.
but you also started your business, this business, right at the beginning when COVID hit, right? Or somewhere around that time,
Yes,
right?
so
Challenging time.
I came up with the idea to have a brick and mortar wine school, September 2019. My birthday's in September, so I was like, you know, it was like my last year in my 30s. It was like, let me figure out what I'm going to do. And then started the LLC 2019, and then just like plugged away, got all the licensing for like the location and all of this stuff. Then I was like, it's December, let me take a little break. I'll pick this up after the holidays. And then bam,
That was it.
Yes.
COVID hit, and I couldn't get down here for months and months and
That
months.
must have been hard.
Yeah, it was hard. Luckily, I had like a co-working space, so it's not like I was paying for a whole space and utilities, and just trying to work things out remotely until I could get here, and then had to actually get a new location. So I've been in my location since 2022,
Okay.
this space. And then it took some time for the permitting and all that stuff for that location, so I started my wine classes in 2023, late 2023.
Okay.
But you're here.
But I'm here. So, and I mean, this is 5 years in, technically. I got a reminder on LinkedIn. They're like, happy 5-year anniversary. You must be doing great. I'm like, nah, could be better, you know?
5 years.
And, you know, with the pandemic, I had a lot of health issues and all these different things that popped up. So really, like, going in and reworking the business plan, and that's when I really decided to do some of the private events because I thought that would fare well here, too. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise once you think about it, like, after it's all happened. But in it was hard, yeah.
You are watching All Things Savannah. We're coming to you from the Bluff Hotel, 630 West Bay Street, historic district downtown Savannah. Twin Spades Lounge here. Frank Morrow along with Danielle Oak and Dayna Lee. Dayna Lee is the founder of the Savannah Wine Institute.
Because you're supposed to twist the bottle, not the cap,
Yes,
but I always...
exactly.
I twisted the cap.
And you're not
Yeah, I
supposed to
do
hear
too.
anything.
Yes, it's supposed to be a...
But I like that.
Ah, I love it. Love
My
it.
favorite sound.
Corks are like my favorite decoration. So at my space, we always put them on the table, and you see like hundreds of corks. That's how much wine we drink.
See?
Love it.
Culture. It's the culture of it.
Yes.
Now, do we need the glasses now, or do you
Yeah,
want to
let's
wait?
get the
Okay, so you want-
sparkling glass, the flutes. And should we start?
I am very excited to see 3 open bottles of wine in front of me.
Yes.
And some chips, which I think we're going to talk about how the chips pair with the wines. And I also love this. We are starting with something bubbly.
Yeah.
So tell us, Dayna, what are we going to drink today?
So, if you know anything about my classes, I love to do fun, interactive things while we learn wine because that's how I learn. I like to do and taste and touch. Very tactic. So, we're just going to explore food and wine pairing, but we're using my favorite snack, chips.
Ah,
Yes.
perfect,
Love it.
perfect.
So, we'll be tasting a cava, which is a sparkling wine, a Sauvignon Blanc from France, and then a port. And I've paired these with classic Lay's chips. This is not a commercial.
These are all Lay's.
These are all Lay's.
right.
Salt
If
and
you
vinegar.
need to know.
If
Yeah.
you need to know, salt and vinegar chips, and then also some sweet Southern barbecue chips.
Perfect. That's
Hey.
awesome.
So we're starting with Los Monteros. It's a cava, which is, we say it's the Spanish version of champagne because it's made in the traditional method where the yeast and the sugar are fermented in a second fermentation in the bottle. So you get creaminess, brioche, and like cava is a really inexpensive way of getting that champagne feel without champagne money.
That's beautiful.
So I love to start my tastings with a champagne. Gets the taste buds going. It's celebratory and it
Yes.
cleanses the palate. So we'll all start, at ground zero.
Sort of fresh. Yeah.
Fresh, yeah. 'Cause we could have coffee. I had a Dr. Pepper
Yeah.
this morning. Don't
Full
tell my
disclosure.
mom.
We won't say a word.
So we'll use to cleanse and then we'll use to pair with the classic Lay's chip,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Stop for just 1 second before you change all that. I want to get a tight shot of the stuff. while it's- Okay, and you can pick up anytime.
Okay, cool. So food actually changes how we experience the wine. So we'll start off with the wine, talk about what we taste, what we smell. Then we'll have a chip, and then the wine again to see if anything has changed about the wine. And then I'll talk about what works or doesn't work with the pairing.
All right.
Got it? So first thing we'll do, we'll gingerly pass the wine through our nose. What are the aromas that you're getting? And there are no wrong answers because wine is very subjective and you smell what you smell and you feel what you feel.
I get citrus.
Citrus,
And I get sweetness.
sweetness. Okay.
And you?
I get a little bit of both, but I also get a little maybe almond, something nutty in there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we have different experiences, so you may pick up on different things than I. And generally, we don't swish around for a sparkling, but I'd like to do it because it's fun. And then we get little mousse, and then really put your nose in it.
Does that change the sort of the fragrance a little bit?
Well, it like opens it up, so the fragrance becomes more pronounced. And something that you didn't smell before, you may smell it now. So it helps us get to the nuance.
It doesn't seem to stir it up yet.
Just adding the air to it. His wine is all chemical, so you're adding oxygen to it.
I'm all ready to drink it. Did you have a sip already?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Okay, now we'll sip. So really swish it around in your mouth, get it everywhere. You have taste buds all throughout, and they all pick up on different flavors.
It's delicious.
But it's also
I can
kind
say
of
that right off the bat.
effervescent and comes alive.
comes alive. And you see what I mean? The taste buds are popping now because we
Activated.
just very activated. That's
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
explanation of it. Also, I'm getting acidity on this, and that's why I paired it with the classic chips. So think about something very buttery, very fatty. You're always going to want to pair a wine with good amount of acidity because the acidity will cut through that. So like fries and bubbly, very good combination. Fried chicken and bubbly, very good combination.
Really, who would know? You know, sort of, you don't think of that.
You don't think of
immediately,
it, but
right?
once you have it, then you're like,
Sure.
oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And even in like with French dishes that are very sauce heavy, very like full, you have it with a acidic wine, and it'll cut right through, so you don't lose the wine with the food because the food is already so heavy and so
Sure.
voluptuous. So you don't want something that's gonna just fall
Right.
under the.
So you have to get the right
You
balance,
have
right?
to get the right balance. So we're gonna balance it out with. And I said one chip. Obviously, you can have more than one chip.
Well, we're being restrained
We're being
here at
we're
the moment.
being dainty. So we're gonna. That was a small chip, so I'm gonna have another one. This must be terrible for the sound.
Oh yeah.
It's the real deal, is what we can say.
So let that sit in the mouth, and then let's try the sparkling again. And do you experience either the chip or the wine any differently with the pairing? And it's okay to say no, too.
One makes the other better.
I think that's a good answer. That's kind of what I
I
was
want
thinking
more of
about.
both.
It's complimentary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm getting butter, actually, from the chip when I have it with the wine.
It's not just straight up salt.
It's not just straight salt. And salt is like the easiest thing to pair with wine because salt is just so friendly with everything.
You bet.
So,
yeah, so it's a taste.
So it's
taster's
it's a
delight. kind of
taster's
thing.
delight, exactly. Any more chips?
I'm going to work the second half of this one.
And you guys are perfect tasters because look, I'm done and you're not.
This is an extraordinary circumstance.
I think
I
that's
have to
probably
say.
true. Yep. It's quite a treat.
So I've done things like this with like mac and cheese and wine pairing to play off of cheese and wine pairing. That's a really popular class.
That's interesting.
Chocolate and cheese. I just
Oh, I'll bet that's
yeah.
a
So
hit.
that's really everyone loves that.
No doubt.
That's a good date night.
right.
Yeah.
Right. You must
Well-
become pretty sophisticated at this, getting the combos right.
Sometimes I don't get them right.
Really?
And people tell me. But I preface the class and say, you know, it's way easier to explain and pinpoint what you don't like
Sure.
than it is to what you do like. So when you go to a restaurant and someone's like, you know, what are you in the mood for? Like, I don't know,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
But I can tell you I don't like fruity wines or I don't
You
like
bet.
sweet wines.
Yeah.
So it's easy. Like, I almost encourage when someone doesn't like something because then you have that like in your tool belt so you know when you go out
Right.
you're going for Indian. I don't like red wines with Indian
Right.
food.
So there's a fallback plan or a plan for
Yeah,
that. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And everything that I do, it has a practicality to it. So I definitely talk about the wines that I'm serving, but also these wines are, you know, the epitome of that wine. So if you see a cava on a menu, you know, oh, I had a cava at Savannah Wine Institute, let me try this one. Or I know that this wine is traditional method. So even if it's from South Africa, a Cap Classique, I know that that's going to go well with the fries or the chicken that I have.
And I don't think I've ever had a cava. Have you? You probably have,
Yeah.
because you've got a lot of experience in this. It really tastes wonderful, though. That is a beautiful, beautiful wine.
And this family's been doing it for like 500 something
Well,
years. So
they know what they're doing.
They know
So-
what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we move on to the next? Is that
We
what we'd like to
shall.
do?
We shall.
Let's do. So
Shall we move the
Can you-
glasses? I'm
can
going
you-
to change.
yeah, that's
Yes,
okay.
I'll
let's
move these
change
out.
these out.
So, Dana, what I love about this is that you brought potato chips. You didn't bring a charcuterie board. You didn't
Right.
bring anything
Heavy,
complicated.
complicated,
I mean,
right.
I think that's what many people want. They want to be able to have a nice glass of wine, but not to fuss over the food so much. Maybe, I mean,
Keep it simple,
you know,
right?
not all of us are up to, you know, making beef Wellington, so we can have a really nice, you know, Sauvignon or something with it.
Yep.
Right.
Or, you know, we're not all culinary artists, but we can all know wine better, I think, just for the purchase of a bottle, right?
Yeah.
And have a great experience.
And just relax with it. Like I drink wine all day, every day, for research.
Absolutely,
Yes.
I know this is part of your profession.
But
for
like
sure.
watching TV, I just want to have a bowl of chips and a glass of Sauvignon Blanc and know that it's going to go together or not.
I'm with you.
So this is a little experiment.
This is fun.
I
Yes,
came up
it
with
is.
this particular experiment because I was Chardonnay Day, International Chardonnay Day, and I was doing some stuff for social media, and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, and I had some barbecue chips. And it was a terrible combination.
Research,
I
again,
thought about
additional
it,
research.
I would have actually thought about what I was having. I probably would have had, these Lay's chips, these or original chips. So I was like, oh, I should do a class with potato chips.
Yeah.
And that's how the class was born. Sometimes I
Fabulous.
have dreams and the class is born.
Do you really?
Sometimes people suggest things to me and I map something around. Like a couple, they really got into Pinot Noir, so I did a class about Pinot Noir and different expressions of it, and I had my first white Pinot Noir in that class. Not a fan.
Yeah.
Good to know.
A couple of people were, but most people were not. But I had never had it before, and it was
Right.
great that we had that experience together. And it shows I've been doing this for so long, and I still have stuff that I've never tried,
bet.
and stuff that I hate, stuff that I love. So it's it was an experience for all.
So I'll give you an off-the-cuff question.
Yeah.
Because we're doing a little bit of dinner work this week, we're having a couple of dinner parties. I have two wines on the counter at home. One is a Pinot Noir, which you just mentioned, and the other one is a Pinot Grigio. Any quick reaction as to what would be best served with those? I'm just kind of curious.
So Pinot Noir is my favorite grape. By far.
okay.
And it's very, very food friendly. You can have it chilled, you can have it just room
temp,
temperature.
yeah.
And you can go light, with a pork, or
okay.
you can go really heavy with beef. Roasted chicken would be great.
Yeah.
Trying to think of anything sides wise. I love Pinot Noir with Thanksgiving kind of savory food. So something with rosemary
Or sage, maybe, or
thyme,
something like
sage.
that,
Yeah, all those things that you would put in a herb kind of potato,
sure.
roast, anything like that. Pinot Noir is great for. And then Pinot Grigio, I would do seafood. I would do something light, not an herb chicken, but maybe a light chicken salad or something like that. Any kind of charcuterie, as an aperitif, you can use Pinot
Perfect.
Grigio. So you got both the Pinots right.
Exactly. Well, now
Well
I have some
done.
information to go
There
home
you
with.
go.
There you go. There you go. Let's kick this off
Sure.
with the Sauvignon Blanc. So this is from Touraine, which is part of the Loire Valley, and this area is considered the garden of France because it experiences all of the seasons. The vines get to have that rest in the winter, and they get a lot of sun, a lot of air, and a lot of influence from the ocean. So it's perfect wine growing conditions and perfect for Sauvignon Blanc specifically. We're pairing this with the salt and vinegar chips. So this kind of foundation of wine and food pairing is matching the intensity of the wine and the food. So it kind of mirrors what we were doing before. You don't want the wine to fall to the food,
Right.
and you don't want the food to fall to the
gotta be
wine.
balanced,
So it has
right.
to be balanced. Whether you're having something really sweet, have something that's equally sweet. This is pungent with flavor and that saltiness and acidity in the chips, but also we have a little bit of salty and minerality in the wine. So
They
I'm
marry-
hoping
they marry
that
nicely,
they go
right?
together. But
right.
again, I have
We'll
not
see.
tried this. So let's gingerly pass the wine.
Oh, that's got a great aroma. Just very distinctive.
And then we can also swish it around either in the air or you can use the table and really get your nose into it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
really punching out at you, right?
Right, it comes right at
Pungent's
you,
the
right?
word.
All right, let's have a taste.
Sure.
These wine glasses are great.
That has a surprising sweetness to it. I didn't
It
expect.
does. It does. You're right.
And that's another thing. In wine, we say sweetness, but we mean fruitiness. Is This is a dry wine, so there's no sugar in the wine, but it has almost kind of a tropical kind of flavor
Yes.
for me.
But you know you're having it. It's interesting, some wines you might have and it's sort of a middle of the road taste. You sort of don't really recognize anything. You when you drink this, I think you really know you got something pretty special.
Got
and it's got
something
a
going,
lot
yeah.
of it's got a lot of flavor
So
to
that
it.
speaks to the intensity, the flavor of it. So
Right.
this is not a very muted wine. It's
No.
a wine
Right.
that's out there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's try it with the chips.
All right. It's a tough job, but someone has to do it.
I know.
I'm going to go small here because I know these are a lot of bang for your buck.
Yep. And just like this, the cava had acidity in it. I wouldn't do something sparkly with this because of the chip. So you don't want bubbles in your mouth and then the salt and vinegar.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. Okay.
Okay, let's do this. Wowzers.
That's actually quite good.
All right, let's try
I've had
it.
some really powerful chips before, and that. That works.
Yes, it does.
I think that works.
It sure does. Absolutely. Success.
There we go.
works. That's a
That
good
was really
combo.
good.
Really good.
I think I might pick that up a little later on.
I was going to say the same thing on my way home. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, love that.
Surprisingly, it feels like the wine mellows out the saltiness of the chip or the vinegar of the chip, which I would not have expected
Yeah.
from this wine.
Yeah. And it doesn't take the flavor away,
Right, so it's taking away the edge, but not the flavor.
but not the flavor.
Yeah.
So you kind of experience the chip in a different way. It's less like, I want to say, in your face.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but now I know why you do wine and chips.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't have thought of that. I would have come up with something else, but that's perfect.
Yeah, that's a nice combination.
I really like that. That's my number one right now.
We can understand that, I think, yeah. Beautiful.
Oh, but this next tasting should be really 50. We have to
We're going to
You have to
finish this
finish,
up.
right?
We're going to
Yeah.
clean our
clean our plate.
yeah,
Yes.
so to speak.
And then our last pairing.
100% Sauvignon. I'm just reading the back of the bottle there. Okay.
And would you have something less than 100%, or is that just a what does that mean?
I would also do same country, France, but a Bordeaux white. Bordeaux whites are Sauvignon Blanc, and sometimes it's a blend of Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon, which kind of like
I see.
rounds out the grape a little more. So
Okay.
yeah, but I love Sauvignon Blanc. That might be my favorite.
I think
white.
mine too.
Yeah, I think that might be my favorite white, but from all over. And I love how, just like Pinot Noir, you can have different expressions of it. So if it's a cool climate, you'll get like minerality, but also citrus. If it's from a moderate climate, you'll get like peach, like pitted fruit. And then if it's tropical, you'll get like banana,
Oh,
mango,
yeah.
papaya,
That's
because the
nice.
heat will bring out those different flavor profiles in the esters.
Are there growing places, regions that are on the rise now, in terms of
Yeah.
their production, in terms of their popularity?
China's growing,
Really?
Brazil's growing,
That's interesting.
South Africa, it's growing in a different way. There are like 500 different winemakers or grape growers in South Africa, but there are a lot of people who are called negotiants who go to different grape growers and kind of have an idea of what they want their wine to be, and then they source the grapes accordingly and have the wine made. So they're not necessarily a wine maker, they're a negotiant. They get the wine that they want on the table by using different grape growers. So
Interesting.
yeah, but I'm really excited about Brazil. I've tried a Brazilian sparkling that I really, really love. I can't even remember the name of it, so I guess I can't order it again. But I had it for my South American class, and I was so excited to have it. But I can ask my distributor because she knows more than me what I
I was
order.
going to say, they know everything, right?
All right, let's try this last tasting.
Okay.
So this is a port, which is going to be about 18-19% alcohol, so this is like
Bit of a
that
punch.
banger at the end.
Would you like me to grab the bottle for you?
Sure, thank
Okay,
you.
let's do that.
And this, I guess, pillar of wine and food pairing is savory and sweet, or savory, sweet, and spicy. So if you have a spicy meal like a Thai or Indian, you want to go with a sweeter wine. So it kind of brings the heat down, and it's not, you know, a crazy experience in the mouth. If you did something acidic or with not a lot of sugar in it, then it would really like extra burn your
Yeah,
mouth.
yeah,
you know?
right. You're getting an overload.
So we're trying this port, which is a fortified sweet wine. Got there. With it's sweet southern barbecue chips, also
All
from
right,
Maine.
let's dive in.
So I had no idea that these bad boys existed. So this is an experiment, but not really, because I know it's going to be great. So,
Okay.
all right, so gingerly pass, and then we'll,
Very pronounced.
yeah. And you don't want to put your nose in there because the alcohol will
Knock you out.
knock you out.
Right.
But I'm getting like raisin, little caramel. And the average age on these on this port is 5 years. So this is
Okay.
a combination of different ports that were like being aged on site, and then they blended together to get that to tawny.
And how much aging can you have with a port, for instance? How long could
You
you
can-
age it? There's no
20, 40,
you could do it for
yeah,
as long
yeah.
as.
A tawny port is, you can open it and it's fine today, it'll be fine later on. Some ports, you kind of want to keep it for like 10 years, waiting for the magic to happen in the bottle, so then you have like the best experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's taste it and see what we taste. This is what I would do as a dessert,
I love this.
or with blue
That
cheese.
is like a party in your mouth.
Mhm.
You know, that is just a burst of all sorts of things. Right?
It's lovely. Just,
Yeah. And I do this a little chilled sometimes, and you don't need much.
Right.
So like when everybody else is having their like creme brulee and their pie and stuff, this is what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is definitely dessert.
Okay, let's try it. Chip.
Dessert in a glass.
Dessert in a glass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for this one.
I don't think I ever would have thought that I would be having chips and wine at about midday on any given day. I know this
This
is
is the
such
first
a
time we're
treat.
meeting, so.
I know.
There's a little spice. There's a little
Mhm.
A little bit of
So
kick.
it's-
Yeah, a
it's-
little kick to the
So
chip.
yeah, it's sweet, heat, and barbecue all together, and we're gonna have it with the pork. Oh goodness,
That's
No,
really
that's
nice.
a nice finish.
that's good. And you can still feel the heat.
Yes,
you
you
can.
can.
Absolutely. Oh, it's beautiful.
That's wonderful.
That was good. This might be my favorite.
I was just going to say, I have two new favorites for sure. Yeah, that's
Well, these are two very different experiences too.
Mhm.
a great point.
Two, yeah.
So this is like 10 a.m. This is like 12, and this is 5.
Yeah,
I love
depending.
it. This is Christmas Day right here for me.
Right there, exactly.
Yes.
It's true.
Throw in a little bacon.
Oh,
Got
you're
it covered.
set to go. You're watching All Things Savannah. We're coming to you from the Bluff Hotel, 630 West Bay Street, Historic District, downtown Savannah, Twin Spades Lounge. That's where we are. And we're with, and appropriately so, today.
Yes.
We are with Dayna Lee, the founder of the Savannah Wine Institute. What about classes? So let's talk about that, because you offer, you know, looking at your website, you offer all sorts of different classes for different people looking for different things, I guess. Kind of what do you offer to let people know sort of what they can get from a membership or an encounter?
So yeah, so I have classes on all different subjects. Again, sometimes people suggest things to me. They'll send an email like, I just came from South Africa, or I just tried this wine. Do you have anything, associated with that in the class? I'm like, nope, but give me 24 hours and I'll make it happen.
Wow.
So we have for example, coming up this weekend, I have a class where we make a body butter, and then we learn about what makes wine buttery. So that's very clever. I've had floral wine classes where we make floral arrangements while we taste floral wines. A Sauvignon Blanc class where we taste different expressions of Sauvignon Blanc while making a Sauvignon Blanc candle. So it's about doing something that's going to reinforce what we learned in our wine pairing class or wine tasting class, and then taking that out to the general public.
So these are themed. In many ways, right?
And they get themed by country or region, themed by wine style. I'll do exploring sweet wines or sweetness in wine in particular. So taking you from something that's a little bit sweet to very sweet, like the port that we're having. It's just all about what you're interested in, what you want to learn more about, or what you want to try. Because a wine class is perfect when you don't want to buy a bottle of wine, you don't know if you like this particular style, this producer, this grape. So you go to a class and you have 4 glasses.
Yeah. Right.
And then you can actually purchase the wine on site if you like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was my next question is, how have you found availability here in Savannah for wines that you, for the average person, so for someone like me, would I be able to find the wines that are really going to work for me here in Savannah?
Yeah, so I've picked the wines with my distributor, and the idea is that, yes, if you love the bottle, you can buy it from me or pre-order it from me. But also, I explain the region, the grape, and you can find it someplace else. So if you're on the road and you're like, or you're at a restaurant, you're like, oh, I know I like light Italian white wine, so I'm going to order that. But I would prefer that you buy it from me, obviously.
Obviously.
We understand
certainly
that.
want to do that.
Yes. And for the holidays, I will have a standalone wine shop where people will be able to come in and taste some of the wines before they purchase it.
Oh,
so,
super.
Yeah, so I'm working on that for, the last few weeks of the year. Or soon, because Thanksgiving is coming up.
Right. Oh, and that reminds me of something I wanted to ask you that wasn't on our little list of questions that we try to get in order beforehand. We are coming up on, is it called the Vendange? Where the end of the season, they're beginning to gather the grapes and begin the winemaking process. So Beaujolais Nouveau is one of the wines that is released at the end of November. And that is always a sort of, a little
Entree
bit of
to,
yes, exactly. What are your thoughts on that?
I personally will source some just to say that I did.
Okay.
I do like a Beaujolais, but it's too young for me.
Yeah, okay.
So, but I like to say that I had, because you can't get it after like a month or so.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's kind of like,
Small window.
it's a small window, so if you were there, you were there. If you weren't,
Right,
you weren't
right.
there,
Oh, you missed it.
know?
Yeah, that's that.
And the same thing with like Bordeaux Future is like, do I want to buy wine that I'm not going to be able to taste for like 5 years? Because you're literally buying wine that's still being made,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I don't know if the tariffs are going to be crazy when I get it, but like
Good
you're
point.
putting your faith in it and hoping for the best. So yeah,
It's like
so,
playing the
I mean,
stock market with wine. Right?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, it is a fun wine to try. And with there are usually 5 or 6 of them on the shelves in any given wine store around November. And I say this because I've had get-togethers where I've had Beaujolais Nouveau.
Yeah.
And I have had friends who have invited who bring their own wine because they dislike Nouveau so much.
It's just too, I don't know, it reminds me of like a preteen.
Well, okay, so
Like
someone
too
calls
prickly.
refers to it as vitamin C water, or so I just wanted to get your thoughts on
Yeah,
it. Is there
I'm
any
in that
redemptive
same
quality
vein.
to a Beaujolais Nouveau? And a friend of mine would always bring like a really expensive French wine with her,
Yeah.
for her own personal use during our party, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
Guarantees what you're getting.
Yep, she wanted to drink, and it
And she
wasn't
keeps
Beaujolais
it
Nouveau.
right there.
Yeah.
I went on a cruise for my 28th birthday, and it was during hurricane season, so we couldn't get off the boat. And they were like throwing Bahama Mamas and like mixed drinks down everybody's head. And I was
Yes.
like, I can't do it. People
Right.
were like laid out. I was like,
Absolutely, yeah. it
so
was
I
good.
asked the waiter, I was like, or the bartender, I was like, do you have like wine that I can just, have
Yeah.
instead of this?
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, this is wine. Nobody ever gets it. I'll give you a case of it. So I was like, great.
Wow.
And it was like the premium like Grand Cru like Burgundy or whatever. So I like took it, but I didn't know wine at the time.
Okay.
I knew I had an idea of it, but I didn't know like how expensive the wine he was giving me was. So I took it and like, oh, this is great. And I always had a bottle like in my little bag. And then
yes.
like 2 days later, he's like, oh, I figured out why no one ever gets that wine. It's like $1,000 a bottle.
No
He's like, do you
kidding.
have any more? I'm like, nope.
All out, sorry.
And it was like I hid it in the closet just in case they want to come and find
You
it.
knew enough, though.
I knew enough that it was really good.
Absolutely
and then
right.
he told me it was $1,000, and then I was like, oh, I can never afford this again. So the whole entire time, throughout the Bahamas, I was drinking like the Premier Cru.
And then you said, what hurricane?
Right.
And everybody else was passed out.
Passed out,
Bahama
exactly.
Mamas.
Love it.
It's great.
And that's when I fell in love with Pinot Noir. That was like my
Okay.
first entree into red wine, really. 'Cause I'd only done white and sparkling, so.
Wonderful. That's a great
Great.
story. I'm sure you've got many other
I
stories.
have 9,000 stories.
9,000 stories. You should start jotting them down, actually.
I know, people tell me that.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Oh, like when?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When's that gonna happen?
Maybe I'll carry around a little recorder.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
That's good.
And I have stories here too. It's like
Yeah.
tons of stuff that happened. So crazy.
Well, we'll have to have you back, and we'll have to
Absolutely.
share some more stories. But this has been so informative and so much fun. We're so glad we finally got a chance
Yeah.
to be with you.
I know, it took some time, but we're
Took a
here.
long time,
We
but
made
you
it
are
happen,
here.
right?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dayna.
Thank you.
Dayna Lee, she is the founder of the Savannah Wine Institute. We want you to join us next time for another edition of All Things Savannah.